How you doing, sweet girl? I know it's your breakfast time, isn't it? Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Martin Tyner with Enoch Wildlife Rescue, and most of you know my dear friend here. This is Helen, and she's all excited. This is when we get her up every morning. We take her out and give her her breakfast, and so she's going to be a little bit bouncy, but we wanted to come and visit and let you. And we're going to talk today about the flying the falcons. And I have people ask me all the time that we'd like to see more falcon flying videos, and that's really really tough to do because when you fly, hawks and falcons fly very very differently, and so when we're flying a hawk, the hawk is like on my glove or sitting at a vantage point. We're going out flushing rabbits, and the hawk ends up chasing it, and it's a lot more close, but we walk a lot more and we run a lot more. With the falcon leaves my glove and takes off, and it's only within visual, especially of the video equipment, for a short period of time. And so we're going to kind of show you a complete flight, but what we're going to be using is our GPS tracking system, so you can see exactly where the falcon goes and how fast the falcon's gone and how high and so on and so forth. And so, DG, you want to start with the numbered question for the day?
Well, I got a dog that's like barking a lot, so I, I almost want to like point my camera over just to Oscar over there barking. But okay, we'll give it a shot. So what are we on? Number 7. Oh, this one's kind of fun. I'm not sure how we're gonna go about this, but number 7 is a challenge from June. Now, what June proposes this is such a wonderful idea. More videos for us to watch and donations to Enoch Wildlife Rescue. Please pick a number for us as I'm not sure which ones are still available. The caption message is match or beat our donation of $75. We can't thank you enough for all your hard work and ideas you do to get these videos online. All our love, Dawn and June. So
Oh, a challenge.
So what I'm thinking is I can just keep an eye on the live chat comments, and hopefully we'll get a donation in for $75 to match June and Dawn.
That would be wonderful. And so, if anybody would like to match their donation today, um, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to go above that and you want to challenge someone else to match your donation, that would be super, because that is what we're raising money for the new Enoch Wildlife Rescue, and I'm getting more and more excited to get you guys out there and give you a personal tour. I just talked to the contractor today, and they've made huge progress. I mean, the building itself is virtually complete, but now they're doing a lot of the interior stuff. And so the Eagle Flight Chamber center wall is being built as we speak. All the barring is up. I mean, just so much stuff has been moving so quickly for the new Enoch Rescue Center that I'm really excited to take you guys. So we're going to do that next week. We're going to take you out and give you a personal tour of the facility. So, yeah, if you want to meet the challenge, that'd be great.
And we should also mention that if you donate during this YouTube live stream, it's 100% to us because we're an official nonprofit. YouTube, they give us everything free, so it's 100% to the critters.
Yeah, every penny goes to the critters. So we're very grateful that they do that for us. Hi, pretty Helen. You're such a sweet girl. Now, um, falcons and hawks fly very differently. Like I said, falcons go to high altitudes. And so why don't we bring up that first video of Striker flying?
Uh, Striker flying. We don't have that one. You mean at the gap
Oh,
or?
yeah, at the gap with putting the telemetry together and taking Striker out.
Okay, I can do that.
This is an iPad, and I have a software program on this that it's a GPS program, just so you can see what kind of how it works. So anyway, this is where we are. The red dot is me. This is Highway 15, so we're quite a ways out on the desert. And just show you kind of where we're at when we fly him. And the rest of that whole system is right here. Okay. This is the receiver for the GPS system. They call it a pocket link. And let's get this turned on. And so we got the pocket link, and I carry this with me because what this does is this will tell the GPS system my exact location and receive the signal from these little transmitters that tell me the location of the bird. Okay, so this goes, there we go. You can hear that ping sound. That is the GPS system that is working. Okay. Now, Striker's breakfast this morning are sparrows. So we have those for Striker. So after his flight. So this system's all up and running. We're just about ready for Striker. I have put a pigeon launcher a couple hundred yards out on the desert with a live pigeon in it. And so if Striker does a really nice flight, we'll reward him with a pigeon chase. So let's go ahead and get our little baby out. Hi, baby. You want to go fly, don't you, sweetie? Here, I gotta get your thing put on. Hold just a minute. Okay. Now you can see his transmitters on. Hi, baby. You ready to go play? Mark. And there he goes. Striker's flight the other day was nearly a half hour, and he covered a distance of over 7 miles. So he's flying very nicely, very strong. You know, for a little bird that's what, I think this weekend, I think he's 17 weeks old is all, just 17 weeks. And he's flying quite nicely. And so that's kind of what we're looking for, is to give him lots and lots of exercise. And again, as you can see here, he's completely free, and there's no way I can force his return. Now, at the altitude that Striker is flying is very appropriate for a falcon to hunt, you know, ducks and pheasants. He's got plenty of altitude for a dive. This is a great normal hunting pitch, but we really want Striker to, here we go, there's the pigeon, here he comes. I don't know if you heard that hit, but he'll start hitting harder. Here we go, there's the pigeon, here he comes. I don't know if you heard that hit, but he'll start hitting harder. go. Okay. There's my baby. What a good boy. Did you have fun? I think you did. I think you had a lot of fun. Take the pigeon. What a good boy. Yes, you are. Okay. You know, Striker's a young falcon. All the noise that he's making is his baby noise. Um, you know, they literally scream at their mom and dad. Um, so much that mom and dad get sick and tired. Mom and dad migrate, and then they're on their own. And so, you know, Stryker is actually his vocalizations are getting a little quieter, and hopefully, as he continues to mature, that he'll grow out of those vocalizations and be a sweet, quiet little thing like Helen is today. Well, again, that really doesn't show you very much about the flight and kind of where the bird goes and how far the bird goes and how high the bird goes. And so I have the GPS system. We showed you a little bit of it, and I'll kind of show you a little bit more right here quickly enough. This is a tracker. This is basically a telemetry. This is not the GPS portion of the system. Uh, this is it. Yeah, this is the analog portion of the system right here. And basically, with their transmitters, it transmits a signal, not only GPS, but an analog signal. And these are the controls at the back of it here. And the little dial, basically, we watch the dial, and that tells us how strong the signal is, and the beep sound. The louder the beep, the closer you are, and we can set the different frequencies. So this thing, we just basically span back and forth, point it in the direction until we locate the bird. So that's the analog portion of the system. The transmitters are these little things right here. Let me get this over where you can see it a little bit better. And you can see it's got a little clip on it, and that little clip goes to a little mount that's either on the bird's leg, on its tail, or on its back. And so we just kind of push the little clip together, slide it through the mount, and then let it spring back open. And so that's how these mount on the birds. And this has a little battery that goes with it. And again, this particular one sends out a GPS signal and a telemetry analog signal as both signals. The batteries, extra batteries for the system, and so that we have backup batteries available if we need them. And then we have what we call the pocket link. And what this is, this receives the signal from the transmitter, from the GPS system, and basically this Wi-Fi's the all of the information from the GPS to either my phone or an iPad. And so then we get a real-time picture of exactly what's going on. Yes, sweetie, I know the kitty's there. You're all right. And so if that sounds like really complicated, to be honest with you, it is. You know, that's about the most complicated system out there. But the nice thing is that you do get real-time information with just the telemetry, the analog system. You get a beeping sound, and so you can say, well, I'm getting a stronger beep going that way, so the bird's that way, and there's no way to tell exactly how far or how high or anything else. And so we're going to walk you guys through real quickly here. Striker's one of Striker's last flights. He set his personal best on this particular flight, and basically, as I said a little earlier, 200 feet. If a falcon is up 200 feet, that's sufficient altitude to do all the hunting that we would like. To be able to catch, like I said, ducks, pheasants, pigeons, and so on. Anything above 200 feet is showing off, and so we're going to show off a little bit. So you want to run that GPS
And so what
video?
I've got right here, this is actually the GPS uh, tracker of his flight. And so what you will see in the middle of the screen is the red dot is me, and on top of the red dot there's a blue dot, and the blue dot is the falcon. And so we've just turned the tracker on, and now we're going to be heading, walking out into the desert a little bit, and you'll see very shortly that Stryker will leave my glove, and that's the blue dot flying away from me.
So when are you going to train him to like write a name or something in that pattern?
Teach him to write his name, huh? Yeah, I think he has a different agenda than I do. And what you're seeing here, he's 175 feet. He's 200 feet now, and that is a perfectly good altitude for hunting. But we're going to go a whole lot higher than that, and we're just going to let Stryker kind of develop his altitude. He's 275, back to 250, 300. Now these numbers, what you're seeing on the right hand side at the top is his altitude numbers, and below that is how far he is away from me. And now he's at 400 feet, 425, and they shift back and forth very quickly because it's a matter of if he's into air that's going up or air that's going down, and so that'll shift back and forth his altitude. 400 feet is very, very respectable. 500, 600, 650, and he's just going for it. He's having a great time. There's some good warm rising air, and he's powering up beautifully. We've launched the pigeon.
And
He's on
so
a now.
he's actually speeding in right now to 80 miles an hour because we flushed a pigeon for him. And so this was a really good, high quality racing homing pigeon that he had little to no chance to catch. And so he's right in the process now of trying to catch that pigeon. And the pigeon actually took cover at my car. And so he was not able to catch that pigeon, which is good. That's what we want. Again, it's the quality of flight that we're looking at, not necessarily a kill, but how the bird performs.
He's breaking off pursuit now, and he's in the process of regaining his altitude. Because I have a second pigeon for him. And if you watch that red dot, you'll see that red dot head back to the car to get a second pigeon. As you see, he covers a lot of territory. He's now at 400 feet, and I'm heading back to the car because he's decided he wants to go back up to altitude, not just come down to me. And so I'm going to get him a second pigeon. 600 feet, 650, 775, 800. He's really going up 900, 1,000, 950. $900, $975, 1,000 again. He broke 1,000, and that's kind of a, a mark. 1,025, 1,050, 1,075.
Serve a pigeon 1,100 feet. And at 1,100 feet, I am serving him his pigeon. And so the pigeon is now out, and he is coming back after the second pigeon. He is coming down now, trying to catch that pigeon. And he's now in pursuit of the pigeon, closer to ground level, about 75 feet off the ground, pursuing that pigeon. And this particular pigeon went into cover the sagebrush where Striker could easily get a hold of him. So Striker's flying back and forth right now, trying to get the pigeon out of the bushes. And because falcons don't like to get their feet dirty. And so he's flying around trying to flush the pigeon. The pigeon finally does flush out, and Striker will catch his pigeon. He is now stopped. He's now on the ground on the pigeon, and as you can see, he's just literally, 30, 40 feet away from me at this point. And now it's my job to walk over, pick him up, and let him have the food that I brought for him.
And basically we make our trade. He lets me have the pigeon, and I let him have his lunch. And in that case, it was a Coturnix quail that was that I had in my bag, ready for him to have his lunch. And so that's the way we fly. I have photographers contact me all the time, says I'd love to come and photograph your falcon flying. And I says, well, have you ever photographed a falcon flying? And they says, no, but they'd love the opportunity. And I says, well, you have to understand, we're dealing with a bird that in straight level flight can do 70 plus miles an hour. He climbs to very high altitude and can dive as much as 200 miles an hour to dive. And so it's an incredible challenge to get a good photograph of these birds in flight. So it's a lot better to set the bird, on a natural, rock ledge or wall or something that looks nice and natural, and then you get all the pictures you want of the bird sitting there. But the actual catching one in flight is really, really quite tough. And Striker is doing a wonderful job. We love him to death. He is, yes, huh, Helen? And so, we've really enjoyed having him as a member of the family and one of our wildlife ambassadors. Does anybody have any questions about how we fly the birds and what all this means?
I got one. You said that falcons don't like to get their feet dirty. Why did you say that?
Well, basically, the peregrine falcon especially. The peregrine falcon, they like to kill in flight. They like to catch their quarry. Peregrine falcons will, unlike the prairie falcon, which is my favorite, the prairie falcon hits extremely hard. Peregrines don't hit as hard. Peregrines will bind to their quarry in flight and then glide to the ground and finish it off. And I have on numerous occasions flown peregrine falcons like this at the pigeon, duck, pheasant, whatever it is, lands in a freshly plowed field, absolutely no cover, and is completely defenseless. And the falcon basically dives down and pulls up about a foot over the top of it, and stoops back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to flush the quarry off the ground so that they can catch it, because they just don't like to catch things on the ground. This flight that you just watched, um, Stryker lost the pigeon, and it wasn't that the pigeon lost the pigeon at my car, and it wasn't that the pigeon went under the car. It was the pigeon landed on top of the car. And so here we have the pigeon sitting on top of the car. Easily, Stryker could have grabbed that pigeon, hauled it off the car, and been done with it. But he passed it over and over and over again, trying to flush it off the car. If this were a prairie falcon, I've had prairie falcons not only chase pigeons under the car, but the pigeon basically goes under the car, up the wheel well, into the engine compartment, and the falcon chases the pigeon up the wheel well into the engine compartment. I have to open the hood of my car to pick up the falcon off the engine. They're that aggressive, but prairie falcons have a little more aggressive personalities. They're not as easy to work with like Helen here, which is just as sweet a little girl as you'll possibly meet, and so this is more Peregrine-ish in personality. And Stryker has a Peregrine personality. Stryker is so sweet. He's vocal, which is something that we're working on. But as far as his overall personality, he's really quite a wonderful creature to work with. So that's why I say Peregrine falcons don't like to get their feet dirty. They much prefer to bind to something in flight.
Will falcons ever like go down into a hole the way that Belle does every once in a while?
No. Now my Harris Hawk Belle, she's the best hunter of all of the wildlife ambassadors we have right now. She's our best hunter. And Belle on a good year will catch between 80 and 100 jackrabbits, and Belle will actually go right down the rabbit hole after the rabbits. And so there's been a few times I had to get a shovel out and help dig them out. In fact, I had a Harris Hawk that went into a hole. We were going along a little gully, and on the wall of the gully there was a hole, and a rabbit ran into that hole, and the hole was probably an old coyote den, and the hole was really quite large. And so I'm walking along trying to find my Harris Hawk, and I'm using my my telemetry system that kind of points me in the direction, and I start to get a real quiet little beep, and I find the beep's coming out of that hole. And so I didn't have a flashlight, so I kind of stuck my arm through and kind of pushed myself into the hole, and it was very dark, and I could touch feathers, just barely at my fingertips. I could touch feathers, and so I basically crawled out of the hole, got my flushing stick, which is a wooden cane that has the hook on the end of it, and so I pushed that wooden cane into the hole until I could wrap it around the hawk and slowly start dragging it out, and I drug my hawk out of the hole with its rabbit, because it still had the rabbit. And so that's how determined some of these Harris Hawks and goshawks can be when it comes to taking quarry. They let nothing stop them. But falcons, they're a little bit more, I would use the word a little bit more prissy. They're not as aggressive. They're not as tough. And peregrines are, they're sweet, lovable animals. That's why everybody loves peregrines. But they're not. They don't have that aggressiveness that you find in some of the other birds.
John Lindsay asked, "Do you use a drone to train her to go up?"
I do not use a drone to train her to go up. I have used kites in the past, but never drones. Now, the FAA has made that completely illegal. We are not. The FAA has made what they consider unmanned aerial vehicles, which is, drones, traditional model aviation, model gliders, those kinds of things. they're highly restricted as to where you can fly them. You have to have a transponder on them that broadcasts not only the drone's location, but also the individual who's flying its location. And you cannot fly them above 400 feet in altitude. And so, if anyone that takes a drone up 1,000 feet to get the bird to fly high, that's completely illegal now, according to the FAA. And drones were actually a really good method. It was kind of a shortcut to get your bird to fly at altitude. My personal preference is to do it the old-fashioned way, let Mother Nature teach them to fly high. And so what we do is we fly them in the middle of the day when there's warm rising air. And so as the bird is flying around, it runs into some of that nice warm rising air and feels really good. And they fan out their tail and fan out their wings, and they just use that warm air to go up. And as the bird gets to the appropriate altitude and the appropriate position, as you see, Striker, 1,100 feet is phenomenally high. And so he's so he flies beautifully. He flies very high. And I would have used a kite, but we just didn't. It's predicated on the weather conditions, and when the weather was basically strong enough to fly a kite, it was 30, 40 mile an hour too strong to fly a Falcon. So I just used the old traditional method to get Striker to fly at such incredible altitudes.
Sean Gordon says, will your falcons go after prey in bushes?
They will, as long as they can see them. If a bird goes into a bush and sits real quiet and the falcon can't see them, then they're lost. A lot of their vision is movement. And so if the quarry sits tight, then the falcon won't be able to find it. But if you can reflush it, then they will. But falcons prefer to catch things in the air. Now, again, the hawks, like my Harris hawk, goshawk, red-tailed hawks, the large hawks, they're a lot bolder. They really have no objection to, like I said, flying, smashing down through heavy brush, flying right through trees, and so they're a lot more aggressive that way to catch quarry. And so if I have a rabbit that runs into out where we hunt rabbits, the brush is about shoulder to head height, and it's very thick sagebrush and rabbit brush, and my hawks regularly catch quarry out of those kinds of conditions. So more so the hawks, less the falcons.
Susan West says, I'm so impressed by these falcons.
They are truly beautiful animals. They are remarkable. They're incredibly intelligent. They're different kinds of birds, and what most people don't really understand is just because it's a bird of prey doesn't mean that it's a suitable species for falconry. There are only just a small handful of birds of prey in North America. Of all the birds of prey in North America, there's just a small handful of ones that I consider as suitable to be used in the art of falconry. The Peregrine falcon is one of the most highly prized of all of the birds of prey in the world. The Harris hawk is as well. My golden eagle is as well, though the golden eagle is much more difficult because of his size, and he doesn't have the agility that the smaller birds have. But we have, you could take a red-tailed hawk, which is a beautiful bird for falconry. That is the first bird that most falconers start with. You can take a beautiful red-tailed hawk and have great success. You could take a bird that's incredibly similar. Let's say a rough-legged hawk or a Swainson's hawk, which is quite similar to the red-tail. And those birds, even though they look quite similar, they are not built the same. Their feet are not the same, and they really don't lend themselves to the art of falconry. There are some people that say they want to fly owls, And to be honest with you, there are no owls that I personally consider as suitable for falconry. Not to say that you can't get an owl to catch something, but they're really not suitable. If I have a choice between, certainly the largest owl in this area, which is a great horned owl, and a red-tailed hawk, the red-tailed hawk is 10 times better for falconry than a horned owl. So there's really no reason to want an owl for falconry. Um, so it's just a matter of the quarry that you have available to you. Um, if you live in an area where you don't have a lot of rabbits, then maybe a large hawk isn't the best thing. If you have starlings, just millions and millions of starlings, maybe you need to think about a Merlin falcon or a Cooper's hawk or a sharp-shinned hawk. You need to fly a bird that's appropriate for the quarry available to you.
Sean Gordon asked, do you still have wild quail there that your bird will hunt?
Right here, the closest quail that I've got realistically is about 40 miles from here. And so much of what was good quail habitat has been built over with subdivisions. And so unfortunately here in southern Utah, when I moved here 45 years ago, from where I'm sitting right now, I'm looking out my living room window, and right across the street, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of agricultural, mostly alfalfa, within walking distance of my front door. I had a half a dozen stock ponds that had water in them year round. That was great for ducks, and so we had pheasants and ducks right out my front door, and I would walk out my back door and I could walk for 50 miles through sagebrush and rabbit brush, never come across another building. Um, and so it was just ideal for hunting jackrabbits and cottontails. Sage grouse, the closest sage grouse was 15 miles from my house, which isn't that bad. And quail was basically about 6 miles away. And so that's the reason I moved here to Enoch, Utah. It was just such an ideal place to be a falconer and to be able to practice my art form. Unfortunately, development is catching up to us. There really isn't a pheasant. Probably the closest place I could find a pheasant would be about 80 miles from here. Would be the closest place that I could find a pheasant. Like I said, 40, 50 miles away is where I would find quail. I have to drive at least right now 3 miles. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when I used to be able to walk out my back door and hunt jackrabbits, cottontails, I've got to drive about 3 miles to get to suitable habitat to fly my Harris hawk. And we've had a devastating disease come through called rabbit hemorrhagic disease that wiped out our rabbit population. And so right now, if someone were to come up to me and said, I would like to be a falconer, I would like to move to Enoch, Utah, and be a falconer like you, I would tell them don't, because we've lost much of our habitat because of development. And if you want to be a falconer, there's a lot of places that I would recommend, but this is not necessarily one of them any longer.
So we're coming up on 40 minutes. Has Helen had her breakfast?
No, Helen hasn't had her breakfast yet. And you want your breakfast, sweetie? Yeah, it is time to take the critters to put them out. Any last questions, guys, before we call it? Yeah, share the love. Findlay Subaru in St. George, everyone that buys a new Subaru through the first part of January, Findlay Subaru will make a $300 donation to our foundation. So that's absolutely wonderful. And
but if you are taking one more question, because I still got one more question, but like from me.
Sure.
All right. When you were going back, can you give us your pros and cons when you were debating between waiting for Striker or getting a prairie falcon? Can you talk about what what you were thinking about?
Yeah, it's a little bit longer story, so please be patient with me. Um, I drew out this year for a Peregrine Falcon permit. I love prairies. I just adore prairie falcons, and I've flown probably 20 plus prairie falcons in my lifetime. Love the way they fly. Peregrines, the only peregrines I've ever flown were females, and to be honest with you, I wasn't terribly impressed. Um, they don't have um, they're not as artistic a flying bird. You know, prairie falcons come out of the sky on a dead vertical stoop, and they hit things so hard you wonder how the falcon, could possibly survive. Super aggressive, really interesting to work with. Peregrine falcons have a tendency of going to high altitudes, diving out of the sky, and then actually what they would do is they come down below the quarry and then scoop up and grab it instead of hit it vertically. And so anyway, make a long story short, flown lots of prairie falcons, only flown a few peregrines. They've all been females, and so I put in for a peregrine falcon permit, and I want if I'm going to fly a peregrine, I want a male. They're a little bit smaller. They're not as long-winded, um, and I was hoping that I would get a higher quality of flight out of a male peregrine than I would the females that I've had. And so I did, drew out for the Peregrine permit. I hiked and searched all over southern Utah. Found a half a dozen active peregrine eyries. One peregrine eyrie in particular is one that I've been watching for more than 30 years. They're kind of my kids. I kind of watch over them. They're close, and so they're kind of my family. This particular pair, and so I decided that's I'll choose my peregrine as long as I get a male. I'll choose my peregrine from that eyrie. Again, it's like I said, just really members of my family. That particular pair, and they're not too far away from my house, so they're easy to drive to, and so on and so forth. So I also went out and I checked out several of my prairie eyries so that I could, if something were to go wrong, I could just go quickly and pull a young prairie falcon, and something went wrong. My pair of peregrines, everything was perfect. The female had just started brooding her eggs, and I have these a big spotting scope, and I'd stay all the way across the canyon and not disturb them in any way. But anyway, the peregrine, she got her eggs laid, and she was starting to brood, and everything was great. I came back a week later, and the female was off the nest, and both male and female, were up on the cliff faces, and they completely ignored the nest. We had a catastrophic failure, and so now I have to make a decision since that pair failed. You know, do I go to some of these other peregrine eyries? Do I just go to a prairie falcon nest because I know a lot of those and they're far easier to get into than the peregrines are? So I just do it the easy way, or what do I want to do? So it was a long process in my brain trying to figure out what I needed to do. And so I checked on my pair again, and I won't go through the whole thing because it's a long story. But anyway, the pair, we got the pair they reestablished, they courted, they laid eggs. They were late, but they were successful. And I had to make a decision. Um, I can go over here. The prairies are ready to go, and I can pick a beautiful little prairie falcon and just have a ball. Or do I really want to wait a longer period of time when I don't have my backup prairie falcons anymore, and because the prairies will be too old to pull, and to get a young peregrine? And again, it was just a lot of thought and a lot of concerns. Um, but I just, hi, sweet girl, she is so pretty. Um, you know, a lot of concerns, and so I finally made a decision. I'll go ahead and wait for the peregrines, and so we let the prairies go by, and I let all the other peregrine eyries go by, and took the risk, and basically was fortunate enough to be able to choose striker. There were two females and one male, and so I really wanted a male, and so we pulled Striker, the little male, which was a good thing because both these females were just big, beautiful females, and the bigger, the stronger, the most aggressive he's first. So Striker was getting the short end of the stick in that nest, um, and so it actually made his life so much easier and made mom and dad's life easier to only have to feed the two females um, and not worry about the little male. So we chose Striker. I'm very happy that I did, and to be honest with you, I'm not disappointed. Striker is not the best flying falcon I've ever had, but he's a good one, and he is just sheer joy to be able to basically have that relationship and to watch him fly. And I hope that he and I have many, many years together of partnerships and having the the thrill of watching literally a world class falcon do its thing. So that's why we chose Striker, and we're very pleased with him.
And now it's time for breakfast.
Now it's time for Helen's breakfast. She's such a sweet girl. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock again, and so if you have any questions or comments, please send them to us. And we're, like I said, we're picking a special comment every day, and so we'll answer your questions. Thank you so much.